Okay, good morning everyone. Thank you for filing in so well, so quietly and well behaved. My name's Andy Powell. I am Head of Product Research at EduServe and I am chairing today, so it's my job to get us through the programme and so on. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to another FAM12. Formally, I think this is the fourth FAM event, certainly the fourth event that's been badged as a FAM event. But of course, JISC have been running programme events in this area for much, much longer. So the event itself has a rather longer history, probably going back to, well, I don't know, 2004, maybe even a bit earlier, really. Certainly the Federation has a history that goes back to 2004 if you include the SDSS Federation that was a forerunner of the current Federation, which was formed in 2006. So it's been, you know, we've got quite a few years of shared history and there's a lot of people in the room, which I think is really good. We weren't really expecting this many people for this event, so it's really good to see you all here. So I have a few things to do before we kick off with our opening keynote. The first of those is just some housekeeping. So there are a few things I need to run through. First off, fire alarm. There are no practice alarms today, so if the fire alarm sounds, I have absolutely no idea what it sounds like, some sort of alarm. If it sounds, it's a real fire and we need to evacuate. I assume there will be staff from the ICC who tell us where to go. I don't know where to go, so don't follow me. Toilets. There are toilets at the back and at the front, both ladies and gents, so if you need a toilet, that's where they are. Lunch is served where you've just had coffee, so around at the side. Wi-Fi. There is a Wi-Fi network here. What you're looking for is the network called the ICC. So just sign up to that, open your browser, and you have to accept the terms and conditions, but there's no sort of registration or anything, so once you've accepted terms and conditions, you're straight in. You are, of course, welcome to use Wi-Fi for whatever you like on your laptops, on your mobiles, whatever. There is a hashtag, so if you're on Twitter, there is a hashtag for the event, which is FAM12. If you're using your mobile, please put it on silent, so we don't disturb the rest of the room. There is a drinks reception after the event, so I think at 3:30 or something. Again, that will be where lunch is served and where coffee was just served earlier. Charging points for your mobiles. I'm afraid there's no mains at any of the tables, so you'll need to charge in the breaks. There are main sockets down both sides of this room, and I think there's a few in the other rooms, but mainly I would recharge in here. Okay, so the programme for today is relatively simple. We have an opening keynote in a moment. We then have three updates from various people, I mean the people that will be very well known to you, on various topics. The rest of the day is then in two parallel sessions, and when you registered you should have signed up for your preferred sessions. We've kind of sized the rooms based on your preferences, but to be honest, I think there's probably room for people to change their minds, or if you can't remember what you signed up for, feel free to go to whatever sessions you like. But just keep an eye on sort of available space in the rooms. The sessions are, just for your info, Technology in the Pipeline. That is in room B, which is the one at the front to the side, so out of this door and just to the left. In parallel with that is Building from a Firm Base, so that is in room A at the back. And then after lunch we've got two more streams, so Working Across Boundaries is quite a big session. I think there's about 60 of you have said you want to come to that, so that's in here. And the fourth one is Federations, that is again in room A, which is the room at the back, so out the back door, turn to the right. Okay, slides will be available within a week or so, presumably from the EduServe website. Is that right, Joe?
Oh, asking me? I think you asked Michelle. Yes, yeah, we'll let everybody know.
Okay, all right, cool. And I think some of the sessions are being videoed by Mark as well, so I'm not sure the timescales for videos going up, but I'm sure they'll be available online as well. Okay, any other questions, just find Michelle or Sadie or Joe or myself or any of the EduServe guys on the stand and just ask us. We are very easy to get on with. Okay, I want to just get a feel for kind of who's in the room. what kind of audience we've got. So a quick show of hands from people. How many of you work in a university? Okay, let me flip that around. I'll ask the other question. How many of you don't work in a university? That's quite a good balance, actually. I was expecting there to be far fewer of you who weren't in a university. How many of you call yourself a librarian? Okay, good. How many call yourselves techies? Okay, is that maybe half the room, a bit less, third of the room, or something like that? How many of you have been to one of these events before? Okay, so just a counterpoint, how many of you haven't been to one of these events before? So that is about half and half, I would say, which is interesting. It's quite interesting there's so many of you who haven't been to one of these before. So, from our perspective, from EduServe's perspective, why do we run one of these? Well, as a not-for-profit, there's kind of two reasons why we do it. One is it's a way of us giving something back to the community. That's why we kind of get involved in helping to run these kinds of events. And as part of that, we very much hope you leave the room today, leave the event today in a better position to be able to do your jobs, whether you're working with Shibboleth, whether you're working with Open Athens, whether you're working with something else, or whether you're more sort of tangentially involved. I hope you go away better informed and better able to do what you do. The other reason we do it is because we need to be better informed, both about kind of what issues you're facing as our customers. We need to know the kinds of issues you're dealing with and so on, but also it gives us a way of keeping up to speed with technology and so on. So that's really why we get involved. As usual, we've worked quite closely with the GISC, particularly with Nicole and Mark, in thinking about the programme, pulling together the speakers for today. That said, we know GISC is going through, I'm probably touching on a sore point, some people in the room don't want to talk about it too much, but we know GISC is going through kind of turbulent times, shall we say, at the moment, particularly in terms of organising this kind of event and being able to fund this kind of event, so we know it's difficult from that point of view. On the other hand, the Access Management Federation, it seems to me, is very stable at the moment. I mean, in some ways, it's almost boringly stable. The mailing lists are quite quiet. It seems to me there's not, there's no single new piece of technology on the horizon that we're all sort of thinking, wow, this is going to be the year of X or Y or whatever. So in that sense, when we pulled this event together, there were no sort of really big themes that we could sort of pull on as topics for talks and so on, which was quite interesting. That said, I think we have pulled together quite an interesting programme. I hope you find it interesting. If you do or don't, please let us know in the feedback at the end of the day. I think because of that, because the Federation is in this kind of relatively stable period, it probably is sensible for us to think about the future of this event and whether this kind of event continues to serve a useful purpose going forward. And as EduServe, we'll certainly be doing some thinking around that. We would be very interested in your thoughts on this event and the future of this event. So if you do have ideas about where it should go, please either put them on the feedback form at the end of the day or talk to one of us during the day. We would love to hear your views on that. So the theme for today is Broadening Horizons, as you know from the kind of website and so on. I mean, partly that's about broadening horizons in the sense of seeing what else is going on in the identity space around the world and so on, and our first keynote will be very much in that kind of area. I think it's also recognising that universities increasingly are serving quite wide geographic bases of users. They're entering into partnerships with other institutions, both within the UK and overseas, delivering services. There's a lot of emphasis, whether it's actually happening in practice very much yet, a lot of emphasis on the benefits of shared services, that kind of thing. And so what we wanted to do is think about those kinds of things and what impact they may have on our identity management needs and the way we roll out identity and access management services and so on. So that's kind of the background, and hopefully you'll see the way that the talks fit into those kind of slots. It hasn't always been perfectly possible to do that, of course, but that's kind of where we're coming from. The other thing, I suppose, from a publisher perspective is they are increasingly working with very broad bases of users. They're working across federations, and we know that's a topic that's come up in previous years, but I think it will continue to be a topic that people have to think about.
And not just SAML-based federations. You know, I'm using the term federation here very loosely, but access management federations based on other technologies, based on things that are going on in what one might call the social media space and in other spaces as well. So more than anything today is two things. It's one, it's a kind of heads up kind of day, what's going on, what's out there, what impact are those things likely to have on us in the future. But it's also obviously a chance for you to network, it's a chance for you to meet your peers, to talk about issues that you're facing, to get input on those issues, to hear about things that are going on elsewhere, and for generally just getting up to speed. And that's what we hope you can do during the day. Which I think brings me quite nicely to our opening keynote. So our first speaker is Kalya Hamlin, who is the Executive Director of the Personal Data Ecosystem Consortium. That